Hi there, and congratulations on making it to part 4 of the basics of how to read a lead sheet. If you haven't already watched parts 1 to 3, go ahead, go back, watch those videos first, and then come back to this one. We don't want you to miss any good information. In this video in particular, we will be covering different kind of chords and dynamics that you will encounter in a lead sheet and what they mean. Now, if you don't know how to play a chord on your instrument yet, don't worry about it. I recommend checking out a YouTube video that will tell you step-by-step instructions on how to play a chord on your instrument. Bass and drums don't really need to know this in order to start playing from a lead sheet, but it's always good information to understand. With that said, let's take a look very briefly and review exactly what a chord is. Chords. We are going to assume that those of you watching this already understand chords consist of 3 notes or more. You can hear chords in almost every single song you listen to. To understand the ins and outs of chords, you need to understand scales. And to understand scales, you need to understand key signatures. Now, unfortunately, we don't have enough time in this video to break all of that down. So if you're confused by those things I mentioned, I suggest watching some videos that will explain them in detail. Firstly, it's important to explain that there are many different types of chords, each producing different kind of sounds and triggering different emotions. There are major chords, minor chords, diminished chords, augmented chords, dominant 7 chords, 7 sharp 9 flat 5 chords, minor major 7 chords, and literally countless others. For now, we will quickly review what makes up a major chord and a minor chord. Major chords. When you play a major chord, it conveys emotions of happiness, cheerfulness, and brightness. A major chord consists of the first, third, and fifth notes of your major scale. So let's take a quick look at our C major scale. We have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then C again. I went ahead and put a circle around the first, third, and fifth notes of the scale. The first note in that scale is C. The third note would be E, and the fifth note is G. So we can determine a C major chord consists of C, E, and G. The same process goes for figuring out any other major chords. However, if you're in search of immediate answers, you can always shortcut the process and just see what each major chord consists of by simply Googling each chord online. Minor chords. I normally like to connect chords with scales to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But for the sake of time, we won't do that. When you play a minor chord, it conveys emotions of sadness, darkness, and depression. This is why minor chords are often seen as the opposite of major chords. The formula for a minor chord consists of the first, third, and the fifth notes of the scale, except this time, the third note will actually be flattened, which means we will lower it 1 note down. The quick way to find a minor chord is to start with your major chord. Remember, our C major chord consisted of C, E, and G. With a minor chord, you are going to move the third note in your scale down a note, or what we call a half step. The note before E is E flat, so our C minor chord would look like C, E flat, and then G. Hopefully this wasn't too much new information, as it's meant to be more of a review. Next, we are going to talk about how chords will look on a lead sheet and what that means. Chord symbols. Chord symbols are used on lead sheets and oftentimes even in sheet music in order to tell us what kind of chord we are playing. Like we mentioned earlier, there are many different chords that we use in the world of music. So let's take a look at a few of these. Major chords. The most common way to see a major chord is a letter by itself. Sometimes you might see a letter with MAJ next to it, abbreviation for major. or even a triangle. However, in most circumstances, a major chord is indicated by just the letter. For instance, if you see C, that's going to indicate that you will be playing a C major chord. Minor chords. There are a few variations with minor chords. It could be a lowercase m, it could be abbreviated MIN or MI, short for minor, or even with a minus sign. Either of these abbreviations or signs essentially mean that you are looking at a minor chord. Diminished chords. There are also a few variations with diminished chords. It could be abbreviated DIM for diminished, or half dim for half diminished chords. Or it could be with a circle on the right hand side of the letter indicating a fully diminished chord, or even a circle with a slash indicating that it is a half diminished chord. Either way, any of these symbols or variations that we see indicate the same thing, that this is indeed a diminished chord. Augmented chords. Augmented chords are either labeled with an abbreviation of AUG next to it, but more commonly you will see a plus sign representing an augmented chord, as seen in this example. Slashes. Sometimes you will come across chords that have a slash and a letter on the other side. For example, let's look at a C over E. This means that you will still play a C chord, except the note in the bass would actually become an E. So bass players in particular will want to play the note on the right side of these chord symbols when reading this. This covers the basic chord symbols you will come across. Beyond this, it's really just extensions or numbers that you'll come across. For now, we will save that information for another time. To finish up, I want to share with you about dynamics and articulations and some basic terms that fall under those categories. Dynamics. Dynamics simply tell us how loud or soft the music is to be played. Dynamics are some of the most common symbols seen in music, period. So, knowing what they are and what they mean should be an absolute must for every musician. Here are some of the most common dynamic signs you will come across. Forte means loud. Piano means soft. Mezzoforte means medium loud. Mezzopiano means medium soft. Fortissimo means very loud. Pianissimo means very soft. Crescendo, to gradually get louder. Diminuendo, to gradually get softer. Articulation. Articulations tell us how each note is to be played. This could include playing notes short and detached, smooth and connected, and many other different types. Here are 3 common types of articulations you will come across on a lead sheet. Accent means to emphasize the note, to essentially play the note louder than others. Staccato means to play short and detached. Legato or slur means to connect the notes together and play smoothly. A slur, in particular, refers to the same thing, only done with 2 notes. This concludes our final video series of the basics of how to read a lead sheet. Hopefully this gave you a solid foundation to start off with, and you may already feel much more comfortable when it comes to reading a lead sheet. Please share these videos around with anyone you feel could use them so that we can help them in their music development. Thank you, and as always, we'll see you on the next video.